jump in and take a look at what their picks are. We're returning to North America.
I'm here.
This is the United States special. You may as well have a cheeseburger come with that one because serious Shifu is North America's expertise right there. And that's going to be, not sure if prizes are real, run that Condemned and Iska. And then over on the other side, we have Xanox and Brandler again on that Freya Lucy. I do want to see them move past the semifinals because that's where they were stopped the last time we saw them. And having a Freya in the finals alongside a Rook in the finals would be just an interesting time for me. So selfishly, that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
But unbiasedly, I hope they both win.
That's not possible.
Shh, don't tell me what I can do.
Okay. Okay. All right, here comes Iska in onto the Lucy, gets a charge strike and the prismatic strike. Will chunk down Brandler's health just a little bit. Meanwhile, Xanox is dueling out with Condemn. They both counter each other. A fear comes out, and that's going to give Xanox actually quite a bit of free damage. Will actually Clarity himself out of the Petrify, and the Whirling Blade comes out. And Xanox is doing the best he can to try to keep himself sustained in this situation. The Thunder Goo, no, there's no Goo, and the Thunderstorm actually just misses Iska. And Freya's going to try to be brawling it out now. And Xanox has actually done a really good job with the help of Brandler to win out these duels.
He hasn't backed out at all. No matter how low he gets, he's making sure that the barrier and his own shields will keep his sustain up and make sure he doesn't lose too much max health.
Oh, that's the counter, the E does.
Oh, just too much, and the Goo's gonna finish. Sirius wasn't able to heal up his ally, that in-cap Goo combo. We're gonna see the distant static. Baiting out the counter, he's gonna try his best to get away, but Iska.
He has no more cooldowns. He's just gonna dodge. Tries to petrify. Oh man, get jumped on. Man, Xanox and Brandler should have a medal for the most alley-oops in this tournament so far.
Alley-oops?
Just the hammer into the wall and the Goo came down.
Oh, that's true.
It's beautiful. And then they had the Thunder Goo too.
Can you alley-oop outside of basketball? Like, can that term be used for other things? Like,
I don't know.
Setting someone up for something awesome as hell?
Like a slam dunk. Like if you were to, for example, Clarity potion a bunch of people in a line and then have Jumong just ult them. That's an alley-oop, right?
Yeah. You know what? Yes. We're going to do it. That's going to be the thing.
That's the thing. Oh, Condemn gets stunned out of his counter. Now, the dangerous thing about Freya is she has a lot of abilities that actually go through that counter, and Condemn gets punished for it.
Oh,
and again,
look at all the static!
Wow! Xanox is just going ham on dueling. Condemn just cannot keep up. And look at how much health he's lost. And again, just gets pushed out of his immaterial. Xanox just keeps coming. He's a Terminator.
Just so much damage. She actually ended up going Charged Lightning, so after Spring, she's going to deal 8 damage to all nearby enemies and also put static. She wants to make sure she gets the static sustain. Oh, and the barrier pushing Whirling Blades just out of range.
Man, Xanox's patience is rivaled to none. And actually, just in general, Xanox and Brandler are playing out the cooldowns. They're playing such a fast-paced game, and they're making all the right decisions right now. And a big stun, plus it's powered up, left click, and again the counter, and you're dead! You're gone!
You're gone! There's not much you can do. Look at this 83% health pool to 0. Xanox! Xanox,
I'm a fan.
Showing that Freya can do the dirty and make sure that they can get these wins. That is 2 rounds promisingly. MyConviction, Keepo, doing a fantastic job of just staying in the fray. She doesn't back out at all. She's just staying in there, keeping the shields up, having Lucy support her. And on top of it, I gotta give Brandler some real big props. Every time Condemn starts to Whirling Blades.
Yes.
Fantastic barrier, because she has gone the BattleRekt, that her barrier will push people away. Blast shield, deals 10 damage, and use a little shockwave to push him away. And his Whirling Blades is just out of range. We've watched it happen twice so far. Fantastic timing, and it's keeping Freya, you know, alive.
Well and healthy. The thing that was the most impressive was it was such a fast, and again the counter just gets dunked on. It's such a fast-paced match, and Xanox was able to make so many of the right trades and the right decisions in a row on both Condemned and Iska. Let's see, now their target is going to be Brandler. I think they've identified that Freya is actually a tough target to fight against. Immaterial gets popped at just the right time for Condemned, and that's going to give them a lot of uptime on Brandler. Brandler's going to spend the Swift roll to try to get away. Will Condemned land the spear? We'll see. There it is. Good juke by Brandler, and now the counter comes out, and Xanox again with the patience. Whirling Blade is available. There's a shield and a fear, and that's going to shut Condemned down.
Not enough damage or any at all maybe just a bit of the shield, but they're going to try and hunt down Randler. As you said, they have found their target. Too many iframes for Freya between her E, her space, barriers and shields. She's just so hard to get down, but another counter gone to waste. Condemned has just been out of luck with his counters and an ultimate Thunderstrike.
Weaken will be applied, and the empowered left mouse button will land onto that, but a good wall bang into stun. The deadly injection is employed. You need a material. Get out of there, Condemned. Meanwhile, Iska tried to pressure Randler. They will get the center orb, and that's going to perhaps give them a situation to counterattack. Xenox is actually getting pretty low. There's the, oh, nice EX Spear. Good finish out by Condemned. Nice adjustment. I like the fact that they want out that center orb. That bought them back into the game. Nice juke by Randler, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Has to spend Swift Roll, loses a lot of health for it, immaterial to trade with the Panic Flash. Good keeping their reactions on point, and Condemned, I think, had very good aggression, avoided a lot of dangerous situations.
Condemned struggling to get any of his counters, but that means I got to give props to MyCon. They're doing a great job of just knowing when it's up, kind of trying to predict when he's going to do it, and not being too impatient. You know, even if you wait that extra quarter second to land an M1 or an ability to not proc that counter, because as we said, you know, it puts him in Kunju? Kunju's how you pronounce it, I guess.
Let's find out. There it is,
Kunju. Yeah, but the enunciation, you know, I want to make sure that I'm correct. I don't want to mislead anybody. Our wordplay today has already struggled. But either way, doing a great job of not biting on those counters, but it actually wasn't enough last round. We see a good amount of damage. They were pinning down Randler. You know, first Condemned, and then by the end it was Iska just trying to make sure that he couldn't get the heals on Freya. And Freya has a hard time chasing down because he's engaging so hard that he can't follow up if they try and pin down his ally.
Oh, Randler will actually proc the counter, and there's the immaterial pop. Xenox is trying to get in there and make sure that his counter vortexes up his opponents and actually applies the shield as well as the static. Now it's going to be a brawl between Condemned and Xenox. Now, typically, Xenox comes out ahead in this exchange, and I think that's going to be the case again. Wall bangs him. Here's the ultimate. He's weakened. No, gets out of the incapacitate fast enough. The big thing there was that Xenox was actually weakened up, so even if he did land that ultimate, it would have been much less effective. Half of the damage would have been cut away. Now the Kunju does get activated, and man, Xenox is actually getting pretty low.
Pushing it away again!
Immaterial does get popped. There could be a big turnaround here, but Xenox needs to get away. No, gets chased down by the spear, and now it seems like Condemned is really looking in form.
They have their number. They're using this aggressive team comp. I mean, just in general, both having to get it so much. Oh, there is the combo. We see that from Sirius so much. Celestial Cycle, BattleRekt coming in handy. Prismatic Strike recharges weapon by 50%. He was already almost recharged, so he goes in, it puts it up. It actually just recently got changed. It used to just fully charge it.
Yeah, it was just straight, you get it.
But it was an incredible burst right off the bat from nothing. You can essentially, you can use your shift space here with a charge, and then you can use your normal, then shift space, and then R, and then just so many charges. It was just insane. Yeah. As a solo support, you could dish out like 90 damage. It was kind of brutal. They reduced it a little bit, but it's still very strong. As you see, he's still building it.
Xenox trying to get in there, jumps across the impale, and petrify onto Randler, and they're going to try to connect. There is a big counter that Xenox will land, and that's kind of what he was looking for before. Gets the leap stun, but now Randler's going to get collapsed on, and I think all the cooldowns actually went into Xenox, and Randler loses a ton of health for that. This is Shifu Sirius at its finest. It's really what it's for. You cleave. If you're in melee range, you're doing damage, and you're doing damage constantly.
Oh, there's an ultimate. Wasn't able to get dodged. Xenox takes so much damage against the counter, but the shield might not be enough.
There's a Thunderstrike available for Xenox, but will he choose to spend it? We'll see. It could actually clean. Oh, no! Oh, my God, you can't counter it! You got Mario on, and Xenox again comes in big with the Thunderstrike, and they might actually win the map. And despite the fact that NotSure if prizes are real, worked so hard to try to come back into this map, I think that MyCon might close it out.
Oh, just going to try and deal the damage, but the counter gets hit. He's going to try and chase down Randler. Trying to bait out the counter. This actually could be tough.
Still very dangerous. Down. It's a very dangerous scenario. Randler alone, but he could turn on Xenox. There's a clarity to take off.
Oh my!
Watch out for the chunking, and there's not enough bar for Iska to use the R yet. But we'll see. We'll take the center orb, and they're stabilizing a bit. There's a Thunderstrike. There's no counter. Oh! Help! Wow. And that's going to be the great equalizer. There for sure, we see MyCon close it out, taking the first map. What a back and forth series. Xanox opening up so big for MyCon with the assistance of Randler, really taking a very comfortable 2-0 lead, and then Condemned and Iska fought back really hard to win 2 more of their own, but that Thunder Strike onto Sirius's counter was absolutely key.
I mean, that's a big part of it, knowing when to use it. Whenever you're going to use all your energy specifically for an ultimate, you have to make sure they have nothing to get away from it. And reaction time, you want, just in a quick reaction, you want to use your counter, right? Especially as that team specifically, that composition, Shifu Sirius relies on their counters being procced, which is actually why I was really impressed when Condemned, even after wasting probably 3 or 4 counters that didn't go procced, they were still able to take that round. So they're able to still play around it, but a lot of that mobility, a lot of that damage they can dish out because of the counters, they rely on heavily, but that means you have to try and react and catch them off guard. But you can't counter a Thunder Strike.
You just get stopped. Squished.
Just got absolutely squished. We're going to check out a quick replay of an in-cap into Goo combo, which is what spelled the end for Condemned.
This is the alley-oop here. Wallbang, Goo, goodbye.
We saw Sirius do his best to try and use his ultimate to heal up his ally. It may have, but the initial burst from Goo might have been a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But if it could, I mean, that could have been it, because then he could probably use his escape. He might have been able to use his harpoon to get out of there. He maybe could have procced a counter, use his space and material. All sorts of things.
All sorts of stuff.
All sorts of stuff.
Just stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that I like the most about Freya and the BattleRekt that Xanox likes to get is the mini stun on the space. Right, Freya will jump, and if they have static on them, it'll mini stun them for a little while, and it also empowers Freya's left click to do bonus damage for one swing. And that's a lot of bursts that you can do, and Xanox has been using that really well because space goes through counters. If you have static applied on your opponent, and then he uses a counter and you use space to jump on top of him, not only does it do damage through the counter, but it stuns him and stops that counter from happening, and it takes away their counter cooldown, so now Freya can just wail away, and that was one of the big things that was winning Xanox duels against both Iska and Condemned.
Yeah, and her E as well. Her E will do the same thing, and it's definitely not to be confused. When she lands, it actually does AoE around her. When you see Croak's space will actually proc a counter, because when he lands, he auto-attacks in front of him.
Yes.
In a fan area, right, an AoE. So they're treated kind of differently, because one is kind of like a cleave auto attack and the other is more of an AoE damage. So one procs the counter, one will not. Something you have to be careful of, especially when your character relies so much on getting your counters procced.
All right. Let's see. We're going to go into the second map shortly. Condemned Iska down a map against Randler Xanox, who are looking to set their position in the finals. And it'll be crazy. A Freya Rook. How does that interaction even play out? Which one comes out on top? Armor break is great, but so is static.
Now, what is definitely going to be key, as we just spoke on, is not proccing that counter for Rook. I mean, he relies a lot on survivability for that, because he's able to just absorb a lot of projectiles and absorb a lot of damage through that. And what's actually really interesting is when you hit a counter, particularly with Rook, but when you hit a counter with a projectile, the projectile gets absorbed and goes away. So for things like Jade, snipes, and stuff that normally would go through, it actually disappears, which is why you saw a lot of times Rook would place himself between an enemy and the orb. So even if they had some sort of piercing ability, it didn't matter, because he'd pull his counter, scream, raise his meat thing in the air, and it would absorb anything, so nothing could go through him. It would have to be AoE underneath or something that could go over him. Something similar like the boulder.
The boulder, yes. Ashka's stun. Also have Uldur's quicksand.
Oh, the quicksand, yes, as well. Those are all, and I really like that mechanic. The fact that some abilities will actually go up and over, and they're actually an arc as opposed to just a regular line. So things that they can negate, like firewall.
Yes.
They can actually go over firewall instead. So those are really cool mechanics. And same with the goo. The goo itself as well, and I think Clarity Potion.
Yes.
So cool stuff.
Let's jump into the second map and see what these teams have picked. Nothing has changed. Yes, today people have learned. People will learn. People will learn. Condemned Iska fighting for the tournament life here. And Randler and Xanox are looking strong. Definitely not out of it yet. Condemned and Iska can make big things happen. It just comes down to making sure they have momentum early on in this map. Lands a counter on the Shifu. Uses a charge strike into the barrier. And I mean, look at how tanky Xanox is on that Freya. Had so many barriers going for them. After all of that exchange, did not lose any health at all. But the center orb will go to Condemned and Iska there. Panic Flash comes out, but oh man, Shifu's losing a lot of health. He's losing more. The counter comes out. What, all of a sudden, Condemned is just out of this game. He just has to kite. How is he even gonna counterattack? Needs to get healed up by Iska. There's the EXE for Xanox there, pushing Condemned's health even lower. The counter comes out, tries to stop Iska from landing the charge strike there.
Oh, another EXE, but using the immaterial to get the static off of him.
Smells blood. He's coming in for the kill.
Oh,
he knows that there's no
he gets it and the space. He's gonna
weakened though. The counter does get procced, and now they're gonna turn on Iska after Iska spends so many cooldowns trying to peel for Condemned, but it's turning around. Now Condemned finds the opportunity to throw damage onto Xanox.
There comes the whirling blades!
Went a little bit too aggressive, and Randler spent a lot of cooldowns to try to help Xanox connect, and I think that was really the big downfall right there.
This might be the end. We're going to see Randler now petrified, letting them both kind of heal up a bit, space out, get the green orbs in the side, get some of that max health back. Iska's getting low, gonna proc the counter, but Randler can't get away with almost no mobility, now getting petrified.
We'll use the space to avoid the deadly injection damage, and
a double ultimate.
Close it out. Very nice kiting from Condemned. Was down to about 10% health and just started running. Xanox smelled blood, tried to chase him down, and many times it's a tough decision, right? Because on the one point, you know that the Shifu has no cooldowns. You want to try to close out a kill. But on the other hand, you know that if you spend all your time just running after him, you could have just turned on the Sirius for a 2v1. Isolate the Sirius, right? You know that the Shifu cannot afford to come back into the fight. Get your damage onto the Sirius and then play it out from there. That wasn't the decision that MyCon made, and I think they ended up paying for it.
And then Randler ended up getting in-capped, I believe, from... no, sorry, he was petrified. He got petrified from Sirius, but he got petrified twice over because he has gone to BattleRekt that gives him the second, the lunatic, which gives him the second lunar strike. It actually extended the petrify. I think it was almost like 6 whole seconds the Randler was petrified, so it was a 2v1. And with this double DPS combo just wailing on Xanox, he wasn't able to mitigate or get enough shields, and he took a lot of max health.
Again, it seems like Condemned and Iska will win the center orb. That was something really big for them that came in the last round. I mean, that little extra bit of health helped Condemned survive, and also getting him a big whirling blade here. And so Xanox and Randler need to answer big with huge connection if they want to make up that differential, and it looks like they might. There's the incapacitate onto the wall. Don't make the same mistake, but it looks like they're just going to try to chase down the Shifu. The wall bang doesn't actually happen, but they will land the counter. The Petrify gets clarity now. There's a jump. There's the incapacitate into the wall, and Xanox is trying to look to make the kill.
A hammer will kill him. There it is.
There it is, in the back.
Hammer to the back. Sirius will do his best, but oh no, this is going to be too much control. Look at all of the lethal injects, the panic, the statics, the damage, the Petrify, just not enough.
Man, they are so optimized in terms of their order of operations there. It was just really fantastic chain of events there for MyCon, just to make sure they get the optimal amount of health lowered on that Sirius. The panic came down, the deadly injection waited right when it popped to throw on damage of his own to make sure that they got 2 hits out of that free target.
What's cool is the deadly inject doesn't pop in caps until the damage actually goes off, because initially it doesn't deal any damage. So we saw Freya in cap into the wall, followed by Lucy's first lethal inject. She did a second one, which is what broke it, because it popped the damage of the first lethal inject, but then she panicked immediately. So the panic happened, so now they've panicked, followed by Freya chasing down with the slow, getting the static, getting everything else on him. I mean, like you said, the order of operations of their abilities is what's key to them dealing out that kind of damage, especially in a 2v1 when they have no more abilities to try and escape or counter away.
Right, winning back the second round here, but it's still neck and neck. And Condemned and Iska have definitely demonstrated really good center orb control. And I think it's going to come down to them playing well against the aggression that Xanox puts out. And this is one of the things that they can't let happen. Randler might actually lose a lot of health here, and that's going to be important. Randler does spend the barrier. Actually, Shifu tries to redirect onto Xanox. They've tried to identify that Xanox is the target they want to go for. Mini stun into the left click. There's a counter that will land, and more barriers available for Freya. And that's really what's going to extend their survivability here. A good knockback on the hammer is going to prevent Iska from connecting onto Randler. But we'll see how these exchanges that come out. I think it's about even. It's really going to be about center orb control, and that's going to go to Condemned.
We're going to see a Whirling Blade soon. We know he wants it. He's going to try and bait as many abilities out of Freya as possible. Oh, but he got panicked out of the Whirling Blades. Fantastic. He kept at least half of his energy, but it just wasn't enough. They're going to try and pin one down to keep Randler over here.
Incapacitate into double petrify. That's a lot of CC, and Randler gets stuck in the middle of nowhere by himself. Has to spend the swift roll, spends a counter, and here comes Iska. That's what we were talking about. You hit Shifu's or you hit Sirius's counter, and he actually gets to choose where he goes, and so you are condemning your partner to death there. Xanox hitting that counter ended Randler's life, and that was fantastic from NotSure if prizes are real.
Made you do the accidental pun on Condemn.
Yep.
But I've definitely run into this before. When players use real words, they make us use terrible puns on accident. I hate puns. Well, okay, let me correct myself. I love good puns, but like 2% of puns are good.
Yeah.
So most of the time, I hate puns. And Condemned is forcing us to accidentally pun ourselves.
It's just bad all around. Not happy times. Depression sets in.
But doing a great job of just isolating one teammate, getting those petrifies. Once we see one landed, we're going to see him land another one following right after, making it near to 4 to 5 second petrify because it refreshes the cooldown, or not refreshes the cooldown, but refreshes the actual petrify length.
All right, the situation ends up being very spread out. Iska is going to win the center orb. And I really think that that might be something that MyCon considers focusing on a little more. Sure, their big connections can do a lot of damage, but they're really losing out in the long game. The sustain coming from Shifu Sirius is enough, actually, to hold them over, at least until Condemn can lower either Xanox or Randler's health low enough that they go for killing blows. I think the little bit of survivability will really help. Lands into the counter on the Shifu. And now Xanox tries to connect with more damage. There's a Whirling Blade. Barrier will mitigate a little bit of it, but Xanox actually takes a significant amount of damage. And will lose a lot of health while Randler is petrified. Trying to kite around, but it's going to be hard for Randler to land the healing orbs. We can up onto Xanox, and there's so much pressure coming out. The counter gets juked by Randler, but Xanox will bite. And now the counter is spent by the Freya. Incapacitated is going to help Freya survive a little bit longer, but jumps right into her doom as Condemned uses the Impale to close it out. And the second map will end up going for NotSure if prizes are real. That's going to tie the maps up 1-on-1.
I mean, great way to deal with this comp. Fantastic. I mean, Freya's job is to just get in there, deal a lot of damage, try and shield herself as much as possible, while Lucy does as much as she can to time her barrier, especially, you know, with the shockwave, since she does build that BattleRekt to make the barrier a bit stronger. But at the same time, also knowing that, like, if you just get rid of one of them, you're pretty much good to do what you want. Since Sirius and Sirius and Shifu are able to just, you know, move around the battlefield so efficiently and so quickly, between harpoons, counters, space bars, all sorts of things. They're able to move around so much as soon as they pin one down, get that petrify on, which if you time them both, you'll get anywhere between like 5 to 6 seconds of petrify if you wait perfectly until it's closer to the end for the second proc, but you also don't want to miss out on it because you have to recast it in a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And they just went to Pound Town on the first last one.
Yeah.
The poor last one.
The
Pursed.
poor Pursed. Psh, something.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But we're going to check out a quick replay. When Freya tried to chase down the Shifu, this was that moment we spoke on when she wanted to get there. Actually, no, I believe this is a slightly different one.
There's a double petrify that we saw onto Randler, and that's really the isolation that
this was it.
Super key. You know, we get into this scenario where, because Xanox was chasing so hard, got himself isolated, did not communicate well about Randler just being out of the game, lost a ton of health, and then the Whirling Blade comes through and finishes off the kill. When you're isolated like that, when you have so much CC on a target, your teammate needs to kite an incredible amount. If you don't kite, that's what happens to you. Xanox lost a ton of health. We saw a different situation, the incap into the double petrify, and then Randler kited all the way to the other side of the map because he couldn't actually come back close to Xanox. That ended up securing them another round win. That's the big thing about the Shifu Sirius that I'm seeing. That was the difference between the first map and the second map, is that Condemned and Iska were so much better at just controlling the pace of the game and not just going straight for damage, because they'll lose every single time they try to do that.
I mean, a big part of it is also being patient and timing your damage, right? We know that combo alone can deal so much damage. So we're looking at the amount of... Just make it natural. Just make it natural.
Natural liquids. Lubricating the throat.
I mean, for real. This is what strains me so much because I don't hydrate enough.
If we don't lubricate the throat, then we start getting voice cracks.
which you hear so much in this broadcast.
It's a normal thing for grown human beings.
It is standard. There's no need to make fun of people whose voice is cracked.
That's just not nice. Voice is cracked.
It happens to all of us. It happens to the best. It happens to the worst. But we're going to be getting into our third and final map for this semi-final.
They are standing strong. We're seeing Freya forever. Forever. All right, into the game. Xenox again, trying to play aggressive, gets the incapacity, and that's going to allow Xenox to set up some damage, whatever he wants, gets the mini stun plus the empowered left mouse button. The counter again gets juked out, and then wallbang once more. Double Petrify is going to land on Xenox, and that's going to earn Iska the center orb. And again, we see the continuation of that trend of just losing out center orbs for MyCon. Wallbang after the counter, but Xenox is doing really well. Look at how low Condemn's health is.
Oh, but here comes the double Petrify. It doesn't matter. They can't get themselves over to Randler, so they try their best to deal in damage, but the Petrify shield actually saved Xenox from taking any damage during that.
Nice counter, actually pulls Condemn back into the game, gets him the center orb, but still on very low health. Needs to be very careful. There's a lot of resources on MyCon's side to help them either sustain or put out damage. A full stick of butter on Randler, and here's a crippling goo. The ultimate comes out.
Oh,
the clarity potion. Get wrecked.
Not able to cancel out of that, and actually just staying out of range of it. We see them just pushing around poor Shifu. Nothing he can do, and now Sirius going to do his best, trying to get the Petrifies off. Oh, but the clarity potion. Oh, here comes the BMing.
Nice.
Merge.
What?
Constellations confluence. Is that what he says?
What? Yeah,
Is it confluence?
Why does he say that? Is it because sun and moon come together to make the laser beam? Is that why he says
maybe?
merge? No. But how does that make sense?
Merge.
The moon actually does not have any properties of emitting light.
I mean, it does when the sun's blaring on it.
Yeah, but then...
I am the moon and the stars. That's kind of cool.
I guess I shouldn't try to apply any kind of logic. What is it called? Astral beam. I wish there was some like role-playing details about these things, like combines the sun and the moon to create a laser. That would be interesting to me.
But it's not the sun. Is it the sun?
Is it the sun?
I thought it was the stars.
Stars. Sunlight.
Sunlight. You know what? All we know is he's celestial. He just uses everything space-related to his advantage. He just brings everything together.
What a nerd.
What an insult.
Sirius.
Poor Sirius. Sirius the nerd.
God.
Science nerd. He's doing his best.
He's doing his best.
He's doing his best, folks.
Don't blame Sirius. All right. Winning the first map is MyCon, but I'm not counting out. I'm not sure if prizes are real just yet. Oh, nice counter actually from Xenox is going to dispel that situation really quickly. Barrier comes down onto Randler. The incapacity is going to set up damage for them. Comboed into the Petrify, but somehow Xenox is dueling out really well. Again, the counter will be avoided, and Iska and Condemn have...
He's just taking damage.
He's just getting hit in the backside.
Oh, it's just letting Sirius do what he can, but using his AoE to not proc the counter. Smart on him. Good on him.
Good on him. Xenox jumping in, tries to get the minion stun, but good immaterial pop. Condemn's reactions are on point in this match, and so is Iska's. Another counter going to waste for the Freya. It's all about dueling out in this neutral game situation. There it is, Astral Beam coming out. Randler gets burned a little bit. Actually, the Clarity Potion just in time to avoid the Petrifies, and that's going to allow Xenox to try to go ham here, but not a lot of connection being made. Remember, Condemn has the butter. Perfectly. You can't counter that. Has to run away. Uses the E to get a little jump, but Xenox took so much damage for it. If Impale lands, it could spell bad news for MyCon. And there it is. So much health being lost right now. Randler has a lot of health to make up, and the center orb definitely does not go to MyCon. Nice, incapacitate. The Clarity will take him out of it, gets the health orbs, and the counter will help push a little bit of extra survivability on Xenox.
Gets the damage and the static application.
Avoids the impale as well, and Xenox still lives. The charge strike will miss, but ends up closing out the kill anyways. Very good job by Condemn and Iska there to keep up the pressure, not hit the counters, get a lot of the center orbs, and just maintain their health level. Just slow, methodical play, and this is what I like to see out of Shifu Sirius comps, is slowing the pace of the game down, playing the control, playing the center orb, playing the objectives. You can go very far on Shifu Sirius just hammering damage into your opponents, but to be able to get to that next step of excellence, You need to be able to play strategically, and that is what I think Condemned and Niska are doing really well right now.
And there was a weird time where Xanox was just running into the middle and just letting Sirius wail on him.
Yeah.
He took like 50 damage.
He wanted to get to the center orb, but they lost it anyways, and that's kind of the gamble, right? You say, okay, I need to get to the center orb. That is something I need to do. I'm willing to take the damage on the way to do that. Just walking past a Sirius, no care at all. Just, I'm going to let him do whatever. You get to the center orb and you lose it anyways, and now you're sitting in a situation where, like, I just lost X amount of health to get to the center orb and didn't even get the orb, and now I'm being 2v1.
And what's interesting, too, is you only get 10 max health from the center orb. I mean, you and your ally do.
Yeah.
And you get 25%. So think about how much max health he lost just to try and snag it.
Yes.
Or prevent the enemy from doing it.
Yeah.
But he has a support. Lucy could heal him.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. And I think that it's those kind of decision-making things that really need to be ironed out here for Xanox and Randler if they want to start being more convincing in their victories against Iska and Condemned. Petrify does land on the Freya. There's a second Petrify to follow, but the Petrifying Bolt from Randler, everybody's getting stoned up here. Oh! What? Randler! No!
Randler might be done here. The barrier on the roll trying to escape. Get some health.
Banana! A second banana? No. And actually, now it's going to be Xanox and Condemned fighting it out. And most of the time in these 1v1 situations, Xanox...
Oh, the banana!
Top. The bear comes out, the Panic Flash misses. The Clarity Potion, and there is the killing blow. Going a second round up. And I think NotSure prizes are real. Might move on to the finals here. They're looking really, really strong.
I don't know what you're talking about. They still have 2 more to win.
They still have 2 more to win, that's for sure. But it seemed very tough for Xanox and Randler to find foothold in this match. I don't know if they can make the adjustments necessary.
It definitely seemed to be a bit of a struggle. Still, with just under 70% health pool. Just a bit shy of more than that.
Yes.
But, I mean, they're doing this comp, we talked about it a lot, and we've seen it a lot in 2v2's. When you make a dedication, you just have to go.
Yeah.
The moment you stop going for it is the moment you're going to start losing at the mid-range game, especially against a Lucy. Lucy's the only ranged character in this entire match right now. So if you stay too far to where you can't deal any damage, Lucy's just going to keep poking it down with lethal injects, M1s, blah blah blah, putting toxin on you. It's not going to be a pretty sight. So once you go in, you have to make the dedication to go in, but then you have to be aware of cooldowns, counters, make sure Freya there. We see a counter being hit, we have to be careful about that, but she's all alone. She's kind of far from Lucy right now. She just used her space, so now they can actually probably start laying on some damage.
There's no Panic Flask as well, and so Lucy's going to have to spend cooldowns to try to get out of the situation. Maybe a Swift Roll, maybe something like that. Center Orb will actually go the way of MyCon, and that's going to be the first in a long time. Going to use a Clarity Potion to pull Xanox out of the Petrify. And Xanox is trying to do what he can to connect onto Condemned, does not get the wall bang, and now they're going to 2v1 onto Xanox. The Clarity Potion takes down the Weaken, and here comes the 1v1. Xanox has won so many of these so far. Wall bang! Thunder Strike! Nice from Xanox! There's a big connection. Condemned finally gets healed up by Iska, but they're winning out a lot of situations here. Another wallbang comes in. There's a left click, puts the toxin on, and Petrify comes out onto Xanox, but Randler is able to strafe out a lot of damage. Petrify lands right after the counter goes down. Then Condemned is still in trouble, spends the immaterial. There are no cooldowns left. Weaken is up, and Xanox is looking to go ham. There's a counter being spent. Xanox coming in. There's a mini stun. Then the inject. You're done. 2 and 2 maybe. MyCon fighting back. This is the closest thing that I feel like I've ever seen. I cannot say who it's going to go to. Xanox and Randler cutting out the damage much better than in the last round. And the 1v1 scenarios for Xanox going his way.
What I find really interesting is it's close in the scheme of the entire map, but every round is definitely in much favor of one side or the other.
And maybe it's really just the cascading effect of winning out the early trades gives them momentum to start winning out the later trades, and you get to this situation where you're just so far behind that you can't actually trade out damage efficiently against your opponents because your cooldowns are all offset, right? Landing your attacks into counters means that you reduce the potential damage output that you have, and then taking damage while your counters and cooldowns are down means that by the time your counters are up again, they have full opportunity to just sit back, heal up, and wait for your counter to run out.
It seems to be just a matter of a single moment that determines the victor of this, whether one person gets bursted down or we see a gnarly Petrify getting landed by Sirius. But we see the Petrify already down. The counter's now down for 1 or 2 of them.
man, they're really spacing out their barriers really well, and that's really extending Xanox's survivability. Using his static, using his counter, getting a lot of mini barriers, and then finally Randler puts down his big 50 health barrier. And again, MyCon wins the center orb, and this might be the opportunity for some huge alley-oop. Xanox has a full stick of butter, gonna use some of the EX on the E. And meanwhile, Randler is trying to kite out Iska. Iska's gonna miss.
Oh, he's snared now.
He's snared up. The counter gets outplayed, and he's gonna use. Oh man, there's no Thunderstrike that's gonna come out to punish Iska's spacebar spend. Center orb does go to. Not sure if prizes are real. We'll see. This game is still very much up in the air. I think Condemned and Iska have played very well to keep their health points up. Here comes the Whirling Blade, and that's going to lower Xanox's health by a significant amount. That might be the key point that turns it around.
Oh, but they're trying to get the damage right back on. Oh, no!
Iska takes a huge connection from the Thunderstrike, but that's still just not really buying their way back into the game. Xanox is pretty low, and Condemned and Iska are not exactly the healthiest, but they definitely have much more leeway to push their way into this game.
MyCon somehow has just a little bit more health pool, but Xanox is the low one. He is going to be the damage dealer, so Randler can put himself a bit more in the middle of a fight now that he has some more room to play. Oh, but they're gonna, oh, wow. I think that might have been a snipe. Actually, I don't think it was.
Not sure if prizes actually won that center orb.
I believe MyCon got it.
We will. Yeah, it's so hard to tell. Here comes this space, and the charge strike does land through the counter, not quite fast enough. Xanox is in trouble. The barrier is about to run out. He uses a jump, and he gets closed out on. Condemned and Iska are about to move on to the finals to face Project Horizon. They're going to control the game, make sure they get the center orb. Smart play from them. Banana, charge strike. Randler knows it's over. And again, they will be upset in the semifinals. The Freya just can't quite make it through. But Condemned and Iska, good comeback for them. 2-1. We'll move on to the finals.
Incredibly close. And I'm glad we got to see this comp move on. I don't believe we've seen the Shifu series in the finals yet for us here, at least at BattleRekt. And I really, that's the highest we've ever seen a Freya make it. Freya make it in the semifinals. I really wanted to see if she could, you know, make it to the finals, especially going against a Rook. But I'm loving seeing new team comps. This is a big part of what I love watching a game, especially in its, you know, in its infancy. BattleRekt's a new game. People are trying new things. We're learning new things, learning new mechanics, learning new metas. And being able to utilize all of these champions, it shows a lot to the game's integrity. It shows a lot to the game's balance, and also just the creativity people can pull off. But so close, MyCon falls just short. Not sure if prizes will move on to our finals. Congratulations to them. They are now, as you said.